Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2488 Burning the Heavens 1. Xiao Honglian felt a surge of heat coursing through her body, as if she were about to explode. The surrounding warriors of the Zhurong clan watched in stunned silence as she swallowed a river of lava. This application of magma energy is even more terrifying than theirs. For a moment, they stood there, stunned and at a loss. Xiao Honglian wiped the corner of her mouth, seemingly enjoying the food she had just eaten. She scanned the crowd intently, then raised her palm, and an unusual flame bloomed from her palm like a rose. Crimson as blood, alluring as a poppy. Burning flames annihilate. The flower of the other shore.
Boom.
The crimson spider lily instantly erupted with extreme heat that distorted the air, and a strange power swept forward. As each petal bloomed, the intensity of the energy increased. It swept across the sea of fire, and all the rocks and flames along the way were absorbed, converging into a darker, more intense black-red flame, like the sunless tide in a trench. Xiao Honglian, she is a fire lover, the one who devoured the Zhurong clan. She raised both arms, and two crimson spider lilies exploded, the terrifying pure heat energy turning into two heavy ribbons of fire that instantly swept across the entire surrounding block. The entire Zhurong army was plunged into darkness. Before their armor even hit the ground, their bodies were drained of their strength and turned to ash. They had no power to resist whatsoever. Xing Tian stood on a high place, carrying a battle axe on his back. The blade of the battle axe was as wide as a door panel, and the spine of the axe was full of grooves. Seeing his teammates' achievements, he smiled and nodded with pride. Well done. Let me add fuel to the fire. He took a deep breath, and his chest felt like an iron furnace starting to turn. Ancient, rustic light patterns lit up the grooves carved on the axe's spine. These patterns overlapped and transformed into an invisible battle flag that rose from the axe's back, requiring no wind to blow. Xing Tian roared, his voice penetrating everyone's ears. Comprehensive enhancement, Xing Tian Army. A light blue energy field surged toward the allies like a tide, instantly transforming into a blue phantom that enveloped them. The overall capabilities of all friendly units in the entire Shadow Legion have been comprehensively enhanced. Stronger, faster, and sharper. Xing Tian is the team's support character, although his ability index is only a mere 16,000 points. But as we all know, a support player can play a huge role in team fights, let alone a group support player. Everyone felt their joints tighten by half an inch, and every rope in their muscle fibers was straightened again. Uncle Yu's iron fist became even heavier. Liang Yu's knife-swinging speed is even faster. When Bailey Chongqing's hammer hit the ground, the roar of power was even more terrifying. Deng Shintong's swordsmanship, amidst the flashing prisms, is even closer to perfection. Lu Dahai disappeared into the light and shadow. He wasn't truly invisible, rather, he adjusted his presence to be below the level of environmental noise. Amidst the turbulent heat in the air, the foam in the magma, and the shadows beside the buildings, he glided along the most effortless path, like a fish. When it comes into contact with people, there is only a barely perceptible temperature difference. When it leaves, there is only a faint, almost inaudible bubbling sound. The bones of his arms split at the elbows, revealing two naturally formed curved blades with backs like shark fins and edges like cold white crescent moons. Lu Dahai swept past the armpit of a Zhurong warrior, and with a light flick of his scimitar, the opponent's body was split diagonally in two with a plop. He walked behind the two commanders, crossing paths and leaving a faint trail of wind. The two tall figures then slid apart at their waists, like two stone statues split in two. Throughout the entire process, there were no loud killing sounds, only wisps of blood mist that instantly evaporated in the hot air. He was like an assassin in the shadows, Each stealth strike and kill, though he could only kill one enemy, he never missed. He was steady, accurate, and ruthless. He had it all figured out perfectly. The entire Shadow Legion's combat figures were all presented to Zhang Yi and the others. Yang Xinxin, Lu Karen, Zhou Kuer, and others stayed behind, while Zhang Yi remained hidden in the void. Using war to sustain war and honing the skills of the soldiers around us in this way is the best choice. Zhang Yi never keeps idle people around him, not even a shut-in like Fatty Sue. Everyone has to be of use to him. At this rate, it will only take us 20 minutes to destroy the entire urban area within the lava river. Yang Xinxin calmly presented the results of her analysis. Destroying the city is not complicated, but killing the scattered Zhu Rong warriors one by one will take some time. Zhang Yi asked Fire Ghost. Fire Ghost, you said that the one guarding the lava river region is a fiery hell overlord. Is that right? The fire demon replied respectfully. Yes, master. Then where is he? Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. Ran Yutian is very intelligent and extremely cautious. Your attack is too massive, and I'm afraid it has frightened him. Fire Demon said, honestly. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. He wouldn't make a move unless Ran Yutian showed up. This is a psychological game. The one who loses their temper first will lose. Could he just stand by and watch his entire tribe be wiped out? His entire territory destroyed? Probably not. Zhang Yi nodded. Then I understand. None of the extraordinary individuals who have reached the level of knights are fools. They have all fought their way to this point through fierce battles. Even Ran Yutian, who is stationed here, understood very well that the invading army came from the surface of Earth. He was shocked by the power of the land people, which was beyond their comprehension. This proves that their intelligence was completely wrong. The fact that enemy was able to infiltrate their country silently shows that Zhu Rong clan has lost the advantage of timing in this war. As for the terrain, they don't seem to have the advantage either, because the other side knows the area very well. Upon their arrival, they instantly destroyed the major strongholds of the lava river's various legions. Having lost both the opportune moment and the advantageous location, can he still gamble that his opponent has no rivals who can match him? Ran Yutian cannot. But watching his people die in droves, like leeks cut by a harvester, his heart was bleeding too. Distress signal had been sent out, and he prayed that the other two infernal overlords would arrive quickly to provide support. He, however, remained hesitant and continued to observe. The overwhelming power of war still firmly looms over the city. Deng Shintong's great Sumeru illusion is like a seamless cauldron, stripping away the eyes and ears of Zhu Rong people. The great Sumeru illusion not only deprives people of light, but also creates illusions through the effects of light and shadow, confusing their minds and will. Their spirits reside in another world, while their bodies are passively slaughtered in the molten river. The battle thus took on a strange, quietly brutal quality. The cries of the Zhurong people echoed intermittently in the darkness. Their fire towers seemed to be extinguished by unseen hands, and their formation was cut into neat squares by an unknown force. Chapter 2489 Burning the Heavens, 2. Why is this happening? Aren't land dwellers supposed to be incredibly weak, and that we can kill them at will? But why are they so powerful? Damn it, how did we provoke such a monstrous civilization? Occasionally, a powerful member of the Zhurong clan would roar to the sky, spewing out piles of fiery rocks from his chest. They didn't regret attacking the land, but rather regretted not gathering proper intelligence, which led them to provoke an entity they shouldn't have, bringing them the risk of extinction. But before his flames could ignite, Xiaohong's purgatory reincarnation technique, like a silent tide, directly suppressed them. Occasionally, heavily armored warriors would charge forward, raising their molten shields. Bailey Chongqing would take a side step, and his pulse hammer would smash horizontally onto the shield spine. The entire molten shield would be as if a giant beast had bitten off its spine, and it would be blasted into the ground along with dozens of warriors behind the shield. The fate of 100,000 mechanical life forms, regardless of whether they are superhumans or ordinary people, anything visible to the naked eye that is a life form is killed. Below the level of epsilon, they are utterly powerless against ordinary mechanical life forms. The 6 colossal mechanical life forms moved slowly, but as they traversed the thick sea of lava, the energy cannons emanating from their massive head platforms alone were enough to instantly destroy several city blocks. It's a complete and utter defeat. In terms of both strength and combat readiness, they're not even in the same league. 5 minutes later, more than a dozen cities, each spanning hundreds of kilometers, fell silent in the darkness, having been utterly destroyed. When the darkness faded, the streets and alleys were as quiet as if a shower of ashes had just passed. The fire tower turned into a short, black broken pile, and the water level of the molten river dropped by more than 10 meters. The ground was covered with a dense layer of rock dust, which was not just stone, but also a large number of corpses of the Zhu Rong clan. The Shadow Squad had already cleared the battlefield and retreated into the shadows. Deng Shintong fused the last prism into the sword, his gaze as calm as ever. Bailey Chongqing slung the pulse hammer across his shoulder and exhaled a long breath of hot air. That was really exhilarating. Zhu Rong then understood. This is not a back-and-forth battle. It is a complete conquest that comes from different levels, methods, and understandings of the world. And the Shadow Squad is the sharpest blade in this conquest. The roar of the molten river rolled like the drumbeats of 1,000 armies underground. The first line of defense was instantly breached, and the outer city of the kingdom of Zhurong faded in the rain of ashes. At that very moment, some powerful beings deep within the rock veins finally reached their breaking point. From the depths of the lava river, a vast and majestic aura soared into the sky. A colossal lava whale emerged from the water, spewing spectacular white magma from its blowholes, like a giant crown of fire rising up. The fire crowns lit up one by one, like giant scarlet eyes suddenly opening in the night. 5 towering figures emerged step by step from the depths of the molten sea. Lava flowed down from their shoulders, between their fingers, and between their nails, constantly solidifying into new scales. Their presence scorched through the space, like 5 newly risen volcanoes making the ceiling blaze. Zhang Yi gazed at the earth from the sky, sensing the energy fluctuations of these entities, his eyes gleaming faintly. So, even a bishop-level guy has finally made his appearance? Zhou Ke asked, should we make a move? No need. Give it to them as a whetstone. Zhang Yi spoke calmly, then reminded Liu Karen. Prepare the main gun of the Dreamer. If they are outmatched, attack directly. While it's important to train your subordinates, unnecessary injuries and deaths should still be avoided. After all, cultivating an inhuman of the Ypsilon level requires a lot of resources. The first to let out a low growl was a burly giant named Zhurong. His back was arched like a mountain, his entire spine exposed, his joints wrapped in a molten gold-like substance, and rows of serrated crowns of fire growing along his spine. Each of his breaths was accompanied by a deep tremor, and the ground beneath his feet cracked and closed in stripes, as if the earth's crust was responding to the rise and fall of his chest and abdomen. It's time to stop, you cruel 6th-generation land people. 5 bishop-level members of the Zhurong clan appeared, their imposing presence immediately drawing the attention of the entire Tianhai army. This did indeed give some fleeing refugees and ordinary soldiers a glimmer of hope. But their gazes were solemn, and they were well aware of the enemy's strength. Deng Shintong and the others, clad in armor, merely sneered upon hearing this man's words. Deng Shintong's sword pointed at him from afar. When you swallowed the land of my Huaxiu kingdom with magma and burned hundreds of thousands of Huaxiu people to ashes, why didn't you say it was cruel? Since you've chosen to wage war, you must bear the consequences of defeat. The law of the jungle, where the strong prey on the weak, is the law you chose first. So now, stop talking nonsense. The 5 bishop-level Zhu Rong Iran looked solemn. They could not refute Deng Shintong's words. They weren't against war. They were against defeat. If they were victorious, they would also choose to burn all the land dwellers to ashes. All right, let's let our strength speak for itself. My name is Yan Zhang. Please remember my name. Even if I die in the war against foreign tribes, I do not want to be forgotten. He tapped his breastplate with the back of his fist, the sound like thunder rolling in a cave. The second to appear was a tall, slender warrior with intricately patterned armor. His crimson shawl cascaded down from the back of his neck to his waist, and his arms were adorned with curved, molten blades that flowed like water. His steps were light, and the temperature dropped rather than rose wherever he went, as if drawing heat into the spine of a knife. He smiled slightly, revealing a set of bright white teeth, his gaze as sharp as the tip of a slender knife. Melting Gate. He raised his sword in salute. And who is my opponent? The third one is a female general with fiery red hair and a constantly rotating band of light around her, like the ebb and flow of the tide. Every time she raised her hand, tiny sparks would gather and disperse at her fingertips, as if she were directing an invisible tide. She looked up, her eyes filled with quiet disdain. My name is Chilon. Her voice was trembling. The fourth one was thin, with armor plates that looked like layers of fine scales, and a transparent crystal core embedded in his chest, inside which a thin flame flickered like a wisp of smoke. His gloves were metal cages with segmented fingers, from which countless extremely fine fire threads were drawn. The fire threads wove into a net in the air, and with a gentle pull, they sliced a distant boulder into hundreds of thin slices. Flying firewood, he said calmly. Who will fight me? The last one was covered in sand-red armor, the surface of which was not metal, but a translucent molten sand plate with tiny air bubbles floating inside. He clasped his hands together, and fine sand flowed from his palms, instantly condensing into a crystal-clear, yet heavy arc shield. His gaze was calm and patient, like the wind in the desert. Fire-hot sand. His voice wasn't loud, but it drowned out the surrounding noise. Don't slaughter the weak. Let the strongest among you come out and fight us. 5 powerful bishops stood in an inconspicuous arc, surrounding the vanguard of the intruders. Chapter 2490 Burning the Heavens 3. The air was so hot that the light was distorted, and the atmosphere was as oppressive as a tightly stretched drum. Faced with the heavenly army's massacre of the lava river, some powerful figures finally couldn't hold back and showed themselves. Taking action under such unfavorable circumstances would clearly be unwise. Zhang Yi admired their courage, but they still had to be killed. This has nothing to do with good or evil, it's simply a difference in perspective. The heroes of the Zhurong clan are beings they must eliminate. Zhang Yi asked Fire Ghost, Do you know all these people? Fire Ghost immediately replied, Of course we know each other. We're very close. Zhang Yi nodded. That's good. Tell us all the information about their abilities. Okay. Soon, information about the 5 Zhurong tribe white bishops was relayed to the warriors on the scene in detail. Seeing this, they felt even more confident. Yang Xinxin sat calmly in the command center of the Dreamer, and based on the intelligence from the 5 people, she began to formulate a battle plan. Assign the appropriate personnel to handle the situation based on their capabilities. Soon, everyone received Yang Xinxin's instructions. Fatty Su puffed out his chest and proudly stepped forward first. His armor gleamed coldly in the high temperature, and 2 heat dissipation wings on his shoulder, armor stretched out like 2 ice-colored feathers. He didn't speak, but simply adjusted the magnification of his tactical goggles up 1 notch, and then took a deep breath. I'll fight you. He stared at Chilon. He accurately selected the only woman among the 5. The opponent's abilities are clearly stated in the intelligence report. Molten Tide Divine Song. Sound waves are used to pull magma, creating tides and confinement that can rise and fall. At the same time, her molten tide zone can create thermal threshold displacement around the enemy, making people think they're standing on solid ground when in fact their feet are collapsing. Chilon and Fatty Su exchanged a glance, and the 2 immediately flew away into the distance. The others also quickly chose their targets. On battlefields at the bishop level, it is not convenient for others to intervene, and even white chariot level inhumans need to be careful when providing support from the sidelines. No more politeness is needed on the battlefield. After leaving the others, Fatty Su and Chilon arrived at a destroyed lava city and began their duel. Even though you're a woman as a Sigma man, I won't hold back, Fatty Sue said coolly to Chilon. Chilon's eyes turned cold, and she didn't answer Fatty Sue's nonsensical questions at all. She opened her lips, and from her throat emanated a strange yet melodious song. The song echoed in all directions, seeping into the earth and even stirring up the surging waves of a magma ocean. The next moment, crimson fireballs formed from ultra-high temperatures emerged from beneath her feet. The air was distorted and agitated by the scorching heat. Thousands of fireballs converged into a halo around her. She brought her hands together to form a circle, and with a flash of light in her eyes, the halo instantly sliced across her front. The lava sea surface swelled and contracted with her singing, like the chest of a giant beast, with the tidal peaks rising and the troughs falling, instantly rushing towards Fatty Sue. Fatty Sue took a step forward, his toes touching the ground as he assumed a fighting stance. I forgot to tell you something. I'm from Eastern Shandong. Meeting me is like meeting your nemesis. He wielded the nine-toothed rake with great skill. The icy blue tide burst forth beneath his boots, gushing forth not water, but ice crystals blooming like extremely cold lotus flowers. A large amount of thick ice crystals, ice pillars, and icebergs spread rapidly along the ground. Like a thin layer of frost, the frost extends towards the crest of the tide. With a gentle touch, the surface of the tide is immediately frozen, and the heat inward is drawn into long, sticky threads. Chilon's lips curled slightly. With a flick of her wrist, the rhythm of divine song suddenly quickened, and the tides rose simultaneously from all directions, like a closed red crown enveloping Fatty Sue in the center. At the same time, the second layer of dark current behind the light band quietly rose, and a dizzying sensation from the temperature difference shot up from the soles of his feet, as if someone had pulled the ground off his feet. Fatty Sue remained completely calm. He took a deep breath, and the core furnace of his breastplate began to exert its power, amplifying his superpowers. The temperature curve on the outer edge of the ice zone instantly dipped. The frost feathers beneath his feet curled back into massive ice wedges, embedding themselves deep into the Earth's veins. Eternal freeze. Extremely low temperatures erupted from his body, transforming into a terrifying and massive ice and snow storm. A chilling aura rose up, forming a massive black storm in the sky, within which huge chunks of ice collided. Temperatures plummeted across the region, and the storm, centered on him, expanded in diameter from hundreds of meters to thousands of meters in the blink of an eye. The attack from Chilon was immediately blocked upon contact with the ice storm, and the magma hardened into rock. Chilon's gaze sharpened. She gently lifted her fingertips and flicked them repeatedly. The three courses attack from the outside of the main melody. The crisp snap of fingers transformed into a melody, stirring up heat and magma from all directions. The earth cracked open, and magma gushed out like a fountain. The fire streams overlapped, creating a double pressure. Her steps were light as a dance, as if she were walking on molten light. Even if her rhythm is disrupted, she can use her experience to rebuild the offensive rhythm. Fatty Sue remained unusually calm, knowing that with Zhang Yi backing him up, he could win this battle by playing it safe. He took a step forward, then suddenly lowered himself, his palms touching the ground, and a deeper circle of cold light surged out. Instead of using grand moves, he narrowed the ice field, turning it into a deep well. The wellhead is only 3 meters in diameter, but the well wall plunges straight into the rock vein below, as if a tube of liquid nitrogen had been poured into the Earth's core. The moment the tide rushes into the well, the heat is trapped outside the well, and the temperature inside the well drops sharply. Freeze it. He raised his palm and pressed down. Suddenly, the surrounding lava flow seemed to be choked. The outer circle continued to surge, but the inner circle lost power. Chilon frowned, raised his 10 fingers, and began to play them rapidly, as if he were playing a musical piece. She used her divine song to draw out deeper layers of magma, connecting the magma ocean beneath the floating continent, a vast, seemingly endless expanse. It is even comparable to the ocean on land, which means that the power that Chilon can draw upon is inexhaustible. To attempt to contend with the power of the earth with one's own strength is utterly foolish. But as soon as she finished speaking, her eyes widened suddenly, as if she had seen something incredible. The surrounding air turned a deep blue, as if the entire space had been frozen. The sea of lava that she had anticipated would not move at all. "I'm sorry, but your ability is just too easy to crack." Fatty Sue curled his lips into a cold smile. "The way you fight by communicating with magma and fire with sound is simply to freeze space and the particles in the air, preventing your sound from being transmitted. Wouldn't that render you useless?"